Oh my gosh, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It's so easy for us to converse because we're friends to be.
Yeah.
In real life, we're like friends.
Yeah, pretty much. In what world are we not the same person?
Just bizarre. So you went to university or college where I grew up in the fantastic town of Rochester, New York.
RIT, baby.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you enjoyed the garbage plate there.
Henrietta Hotz is the only one that matters. I mean, it's co-signed by Jenna Marbles. What more is there to say?
Exactly, and
So.
you probably miss Wegmans because you don't have it in your part of the world.
I love Wegmans and I miss it every day.
Yeah.
Safeway just doesn't hit the same. It's not the same.
And of course, Rochester is the birthplace of Kodak.
True.
And Xerox.
It's also true.
Yeah, so some kind of and women's rights with Susan B. Anthony, and there's so many things about Rochester that are kind of cool.
It's a great place, honestly. I highly recommend. I mean, there's also the Strong National Museum of Play.
A play,
you know,
with Tomb Raider in it.
Literally, the last day when I was moving back, I still remember it. It was just in my terminal, right next to it. They had a little stall commemorating the museum, and they had arcades, and they had the original Tomb Raider on it, and also all of the figurines. They had like a Chris Redfield figurine, but I remember it was the Tomb Raider 2 one with Lara Croft in the solo wetsuit, and I was like, that's the figure I've always wanted as a kid. But it was nice to see it here, and I was like, oh, last impression. So it was really nice. So
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Tell me, so I know where you're from, but tell me, what region of the world are you talking to me from?
I'm from California, born and raised. So
Nice.
Yeah, Silicon Valley.
And tell me, what are the origins of you finding Tomb Raider or Tomb Raider finding you?
So when it comes to Tomb Raider, we go way back. I was like a child, not even a child, like literally. So I'm a family. I have like 2 other siblings, a younger and an older brother. So growing up, I remember we got a console. We got a PlayStation first and then an N64. But I remember when we got our PS1, it came with those demo discs, and they had the demo of Tomb Raider 3, the Area 51 demo, and I, for whatever reason, was just obsessed with that because like I was so bad at it because I was like 3 or 4 years old, but like I would always watch my older brother play it and we'd all struggle, but like there was just something about it that was always really intriguing. And they had Crash Bandicoot 3, Cool Borders 3, and Tomb Raider 3, and I remember us picking that up, and it just started with like Tomb Raider 3, like the jungle level. Never made it past it. It was way too hard, but I was just obsessed with it, and it was just all the Indian music, like something spooky in that jungle. I just remember the tablas and the stars and everything about it was just really cool, and I was just obsessed with the environments, and that's just kind of went from there. I was just obsessed with the environments in Tomb Raider, like the classic Tomb Raiders especially. I just thought it was so cool how like if it looks like you could get there, you could probably get there. So I don't know. I would say that's where that's where the obsession started. That's where like the real interest started. I was just huge fan.
And then when and how did you start level building?
I remember seeing Tomb Raider Chronicles. I think it was at a TJ Maxx of all places, and they had the PC version of Tomb Raider Chronicles, and I was like, oh, it comes with the Tomb Raider level editor, and that just blew my mind. And I remember begging my parents to get it. They never got it. It's fine. But
Thanks, Mom.
That was
Dad.
just but that was just kind of in the back burner. I didn't think anything of it. But then I remember we were living in India for a couple of years because my dad had to move for work. But I remember just browsing the internet, and I saw some custom levels, and it was like, I think it was Candy Mountain, and I think it was like Raiding Lara's Home, and you weren't playing as Lara Croft. And I just remember seeing those screenshots. Tomb Raider Chronicles is really where everything began, like that website and Stella's site. I don't remember the specifics, but I just remember screenshots, and I was like, that looks like Tomb Raider, but you're not in the original Tomb Raiders. And I thought that was really interesting. And then I saw that on Tomb Raider Chronicles, they had a download link for it. And I think this was like about 2000, I think it was like 2005 or 2006. So I tried downloading it. I didn't know how it worked, and I thought it was very confusing. I was 11 years old at the time, but Winroom Edit tried that out. I made like probably a box, and it used the London assets, and it looked really bad. I was fighting for my life. It was like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't know how to make a door. I didn't know how to make a water room. Because like back then, it was a lot harder. There was some documentation. Everyone says you should read the tutorial, but no one actually reads the tutorial. Like there's the playable tutorial level, but I made a couple levels in that, if you could even call them levels. But then I found Tomb Raider forums. They had a whole community there. That's how I found out about it. And then there were people who were willing to help out. There were people who were actually actually, the thing that I really like about it is that it was back then, there was a huge pool of resources like, TTAC and all the other level builders. There's just a lot of mentorship going on there that you could see. So then from there, I was able to learn a bit. I still wasn't very good at it, but I think there's some videos on my YouTube channel that there's some evidence of a couple levels there, but it didn't turn out great. But it's just, I thought it was a lot of fun, and I just kept on practicing, and then I would just post videos on YouTube and screenshots on Tomb Raider forums just to kind of see what would happen if people liked it, or just to learn. And then I think it was like back to basics. I think there was a back to basics competition. It was Venice, I want to say, for like 2010. And then I remember joining that, and I never finished it. I did like a style unit for it, but it never got anywhere. But I think it was steampunk, where I think that was the year after, and learned a ton from that. And I think that's where things like really started picking up. And then around that time, I think on Tomb Raider forums, there was this thread. I don't remember who, I think it was TJW Croft or something. And they started talking about, hey, let's live stream the building process. Let's hang out, let's get together and like talk and chat. So I remember he started that, and then I thought that was really interesting. And then I started live streaming a lot of TRLE building on livestream.com. It was like a lot of people like me, Agent XP, and I remember DJ Full. I think there was also Martini, TRLE, I think Lore Raider as well. It was like a small group of people.
Yeah.
After some time, it kind of like transitioned over to Twitch. I think it was around like 2017, and it was just really interesting to see like, you see so many people streaming the levels now, and it's really cool.
I'll bet it's a cool feeling when you watch someone play your level, I imagine.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
That's amazing. That's so great. And you've mentioned some other builders, but are there other builders that you especially admire? I
think for that, it would probably be people like TTAC, the team behind, I think it was like Horus and Ilian, whoever I think built Jade Empire and Neon God. And there was this one other level set that I was obsessed with. I think it was Reign of Chaos. That whole team behind Reign of Chaos. I think that was one of the first levels that I actually was able to properly play and figure out, because back then you had to install the levels yourself, and it was just very confusing. But that one I remember getting working, and game changer, like all those levels, just huge inspiration. So I look back fondly to that period of builders. I think it was also like Mario Sponge and a bunch of other creators there. Like, I think I look up to them a lot. For sure.
Yeah. So one other thing that we have in common is we both love The Lost Artifact.
The best classic Tomb Raider, in my opinion.
Tell us a little bit about your Lost Artifact project, if you would.
Oh yeah, that is a thing. Okay, so here's the thing. I have too many projects.
Right?
So one of the many is Tomb Raider: The Lost Artifact Reimagined. So it started out in 2016 as a part of Agent XP's Create a Classic competition. So it started out with me just attempting to do a complete reimagining of It's a Madhouse, because I was obsessed with that level, and I think that one, the original version of it, was for getting shipwrecked on the beach instead of like the caves, and you actually get to talk to civilians, and you can make your way into the zoo. So you don't start in the zoo, but you start in the city, and it was supposed to be a lot bigger. But then it just kind of snowballed from there, because that was supposed to be one level, and then it turned into 3, and then I never finished it. But then Create a Classic 2019 rolled around, and then I figured my second favorite level from Lost Artifact is Sleeping with the Fishes. So that I did remake, and I did finish that. And then it got me thinking, let's do Shakespeare Cliff. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And I put the project on hold because I was working on 1,000 other ones. But when Tomb Engine got announced, I figured that would be a really nice opportunity to try and tackle those levels, to port the levels over and take advantage of like the new graphical features or whatever new engine specific things that you can do there, like the diagonal ledge detection. So in an ironic turn of events, for the longest time, for several years, I would always tell people I'm never going to touch the Scotland levels because I find them really I love them, but they're really daunting and they stress me out. But I put it in Tomb Engine, built that from scratch, and it started out sort of as a reimagining. I was intending to just do a full reimagining, but then over time, as I was progressing with that level, I started getting more ideas, and I figured it would be really cool to have something in between a remaster and a reimagine. So it's kind of like a more polished version of that environment, but through like my lens. And then I figured it would be cool to pull a Resident Evil 2002 or like a Metroid Zero mission and kind of remix the gameplay. So it's like a new experience for returning players, I should say. But the environments are familiar enough that like it hopefully gets the essence of the original. So it's kind of my way to pay an homage. And the goal is to try and release Act 1 this year, because it's almost done. I have there's a new intro level. So I also wanted to take advantage of the manual because they didn't have the budget to actually make cutscenes or flesh out the story. So you kind of had to piece the story together from the manual and the loading screens. So I thought it would be a good idea to try and incorporate those missing elements into the game itself. So it's like a full experience while also adding some new things. But there is a demo out and it's constantly changing, but it's going very well. So I'm excited.
Any hints about any other future projects? Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
With other projects, I have quite a few. I'm a part of an advent calendar team for Christmas, so we always work on something for December. So I have a few Christmas projects in the works. I have something for Easter. But beyond that, I have one for Halloween that I'm actually currently working on. I do have an open world steampunk sci-fi kind of, it's like steampunk meets Zelda, but it's Tomb Raider. It's called Lost in the Canyons 2. That's my baby for the most part. I've been working on that on and off for the past 12 years. Yikes. Then there was a whole Barbie Explorer kind of thing, and that kind of turned into its own thing. So it originally started as Barbie Explorer, recreating some stuff there, but it was for a Create a Classic, but then it turned into its own project. But I think over time, with everything that I've learned, it kind of morphed into its own series. And I think I'm going to call it Spear Hunters. That's the working title. And I have a prologue called Assignment Alia. That's kind of loosely inspired by Resident Evil 4, the Ada missions there. So I have a whole arc going there where, it's you can choose different characters and your story changes based on who you choose. So it starts in one level, but then if you choose Lara, you go one path based on her actions. But if you choose another character, then maybe it veers because the way they approach situations are different based on their equipment and whatnot. So just playing around with ideas, seeing what happens. I'm always working on something.
You're ambitious.
Goes all over the place. So.
Do you still get together with other builders, in chat or in streams or in Discord?
Yeah. We have a little group that we like to do. I used to stream a lot more on Twitch, but I try to stream every weekend, and usually we have a few people come in, and it's just kind of nice to hang out, see what's going on. I like to hang out. I know Laura gives a lot of really good ideas, so he kind of inspires me. The last game I put out, we worked on VR missions together. I was he is a whiz when it comes to TRNG and just level ideas in general, because he knows a lot about the special effects. So we collaborate a lot. When we work on the Team Christmas levels, it's just me and a few other builders. We're just kind of riffing ideas off each other and just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what happens. And it just kind of happens organically from there. And it's always been a fun time. It's still wild to me because I always looked up to Mario Sponge, for an example, and it's just still wild to me that we work on levels together now. So yeah, it's nice. It's a nice feeling. It's really cool. It's really cool to be a part of the community.
It seems like the community is really active and close and thoughtful and helpful to each other.
Oh, for sure.
Shabab, where can people find you? Are you on Twitter or do you have a Discord?
Yes, I do have a Discord server. Beyond that, I do stream on Twitch, so I am on Twitch. Okay. I'm on Twitter, and I do have a YouTube channel, so you can you can almost always find me on Twitch. That would be the best way to see what I'm up to.
Awesome. Any plans to travel back east or no?
I need to make time for that. I have been wanting to go back to New York for ages. I will let you know when that happens.
Oh boy, thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. It's appreciated.